Here we go. As Juan Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork that you will not get anywhere else. All right day today. Hit 12 miles. The goal was to get around a half marathon. A half marathon is 13.1, and considering the lack of sleep, had a late night podcast last night. The meals weren't the best the day before, and I had to stop in between the 12 miles. I stopped at like mile 6 to use the bathroom because my stomach was killing me. And by the time I did that, and then I tried to get it back going again, I got through another 6 miles. I was kind of getting out of gas. I started to feel the cramps coming, and you already know, whenever I start feeling those cramps coming, I've learned, hey, shut it down, live to play another day. Live to play another day. And that actually brings me to today's Move Swiftly thought. According to this on a Tuesday, you know what we do every Tuesday here. Top 5 Tuesday. We're counting down top 5 Tuesdays of something that's been pretty relevant. It is the Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. We're getting into late September, and football is officially in the full swing of things. Week 2 has just passed, and we've kind of seen the way. No, week 3 college football, and week 2 in the NFL. But things are getting going. We're about pretty much a month in, and we're starting to get a good idea of the identities of some teams, and storylines are starting to play out. We're going to start seeing what it's going to be looking like towards the end of the season and all that. And the man, the myth, the legend, Arch Manning made his official debut in college football. Not only Arch Manning, but also Shedeur Sanders had a great game against Colorado State. Again, I'm one of the ones that's been very critical of Colorado, and when they do a good job, I will give credit where credit is due. I thought they did perform fairly well, but the issue is always about the media and how they're going to respond next week, and the amount of media attention they get, which is why I'm making a concerted effort not to talk too much Colorado football this year, because it is kind of a waste of time when you really think about all the other programs out there and the amount of the other student athletes and the other coaches out there. The mainstream media pays too much attention to that bullshit, right? So anyway, seeing that Arch Manning did his thing, and Shedeur Sanders did have a great game, and it was I didn't like the fact that he didn't shake the kid's hand, but we won't bring that up. I did like the fact that he brought his offensive lineman in the press conference to talk and all that kind of stuff. So again, it is what it is. That's national media shit. If you want to get all your Colorado news, go turn on the bullshit, the bullshit ESPN, right? But anyway, seeing that got me thinking about the top 5, my top 5 football families that I've been around that have affected me, that have kind of molded my thoughts, molded my philosophy, molded the things that I aspire to do now. As a kid, I always say, as a kid, my goal was to go play in the NFL and work in the NFL and coach in the NFL and all that kind of stuff. And as I've grown up in this game, I've learned my new dream has to become to raise a healthy football family, be the leader of the household when it comes to a football or a sports family, and using the principles and the things that the game teaches to raise a solid family, because that's what this game was built on. The game was built on molding men and ultimately raising strong families. So here we go. Top 5 football families that have affected my life. All right, coming in now, I'm going from 1 to 5. Normally on my top 5 Tuesdays, I go from 5 to 1, but today I'll be going 1 through 5. All right, so coming in at number 1, the Galts, Tommy Deej and Dwight Galt. All right, so the Galts. Dwight Galt was the strength coach for the University of Maryland. I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, and his sons, Tommy and Deej, they were twins, and they were my teammates growing up. I was a sophomore, and they were seniors in high school. And what happened was their father would come, and he was basically our strength coach. And, being a sophomore and really trying to prove myself at that particular time, that was a very, very special moment for me. When you look at where I was as a sophomore and the rough things and the things that I was going through just to stay in the school, because this was a good football powerhouse, and they took the football program very, very seriously, and I wanted to really get myself established in that program. And seeing that they had, he was the strength coach at the University of Maryland. His 2 boys are seniors at Good Counsel, and he was coming from a Division I program and coming and coaching us up and teaching us techniques and all that kind of stuff. And, that when I started growing up and, wanting to get into the business myself, I realized how much that this game was about family and doing the things and being around your sons and teaching your sons life lessons that they're just, that's just so difficult to teach without the game. All right. So number one, the Galts. Number two, Stephen and Trayvon Diggs. They had to make the list. Stephen, not only did he play for Good Counsel High School, but he also played for my youth football program, the White Oak Warriors. So he's White Oak Warrior, Good Counsel football, and, went on to the University of Maryland. And no one really expected him to do much after the University of Maryland because he didn't have as much hype around him. I believe he wasn't even picked in the first round, but, he went to the NFL, went to the Vikings, tore it up, and became at one point probably the best wide receiver in the NFL, and then he, started to establish himself. And then his brother comes along, Trayvon, and, he does his thing as a cornerback for the Cowboys. And, there was a point where both of them were in the Pro Bowl together, and, the trainer, Myron, I think Sports Illustrated actually did a feature on them, and they came from the specific programs that I was dedicated to, the White Oak Warriors and the Good Counsel Falcons. So, they had to make the list. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? So, number one, the Galts. Number two, Stephen and Trayvon Diggs. Number three, Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins, who recently played the son. Now there's a son, there's the father, Chris Jenkins, and then there's the brothers. Chris Jenkins and Cullen Jenkins were brothers, and they're the son and the nephew, Chris Jenkins, who also played for Good Counsel and then went on to play for Michigan this past year during the national championship and was recently drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay, listen to me. I loved it because not only I'm a Michigan fan too, I'm a diehard Michigan fan, and also seeing that he came from Good Counsel, but also me being a former linebacker, I understand the importance of having those interior defensive linemen and how important it is to build a defense around that D lineman. Excuse me, so my mouth is incredibly dry. I'm starting to get dehydrated the more I'm talking, but the D lineman, how important it is to have those D linemen there and to see what he became. Because again, I saw him when he was playing at Good Counsel, and obviously being a Michigan fan, I keep up with the Michigan games and all that kind of stuff. And to see him go on, win a national championship with them, and to get drafted. And then as he kind of talked about it during his draft process, he was talking about how he used to watch his uncle play for the Redskins and his father play for the Jets. So it's top three. It's the Galts, Diggs, and Chris Jenkins. Coming in number 4, all right? Now we're going to get more on the coaching side, because that's when there was a point where, I was early 20s, where I realized, I was not good enough to play in the NFL. And, coaching and getting and becoming established as a football coach became my goal. And one of the things that happened, being that I am Caribbean, my family's from Trinidad and Tobago, it was hard to really find other family members that love the game of football like I loved it. So one of the reasons I decided to move to Florida, because I had a vision, I had a goal of seeing American football being played in the Caribbean islands. So that was one of the reasons that I decided to go and work for the Miami Dolphins Foundation and try to get to know the community and all that kind of stuff. And it just so happened that the top high school out here is a high school named St. Thomas Aquinas, and the head coach of that high school is a guy named Roger Harriot, who happens to be from Jamaica, and his brother Jerome Harriot. They were both in the football business, and Jerome actually has not a pro league, but a youth football league that he's been building in Jamaica, and he's actually been on this podcast. The title of his episode is American Football Played in Jamaica. And, I remember giving a workshop at St. Thomas Aquinas with all the coaches there, everyone, not just the football coaches, but the entire athletic department. And, after it, I remember going up and shaking Roger's hand. In fact, I met him when I was with the Dolphins Foundation. And, after I had Jerome on the podcast, I remember, going up to Roger after, shaking his hand and saying, man, you've been an inspiration for me, man, because, this is one of the top quality programs. I mean, he coached in college, and he came back and he became the head coach of St. Thomas Aquinas and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of synergy and a lot of love, understanding that game of football can extend. And even though I didn't necessarily have family members that played or anything like that, it was still, I was still had the opportunity to establish myself and do something to give back to the community that I'm from, like Trinidad and in the Caribbean islands and all that kind of stuff. So that's number 4, the Harriots, right? Coming in, oh man, yeah, that's how you know I'm dehydrated. All right, coming in I need some water bad. Coming in at number 5, final number 5. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. You know the Harbaughs have to make this list. You know that. John Harbaugh and Jack Harbaugh, the dad and the 2 brothers. You know, one brought us, and growing up again, me personally, I'm a diehard Ray Lewis fan. Ray Lewis has always been my favorite player. And, you get Coach Harbaugh for the Ravens, who brought the Baltimore Ravens a Super Bowl championship. And you get Coach Harbaugh from the currently he's with the Los Angeles Chargers, but most recently he brought my Michigan Wolverines a national championship. And then Jack Harbaugh, their father, he was the one who he won a state championship in high school and all that kind of stuff. And, seeing that all come together last year, and what Coach Harbaugh said when he said, look, I finally get to sit at the big boy table because I have a national championship, and my brother and my dad both had one before me. So, that I love that because of just the family dynamic. And to get to the podium, and instead of you asking the normal question that you were going to ask, he looks at everyone and goes, look, I don't have a question, but my dad does. And he has his dad grab the mic and he goes, who's got it better than us? And then you saw Chris Jenkins kind of in the back saying, no, but everyone, not just Chris Jenkins, but I noticed Chris Jenkins and the whole thing. And he goes, nobody, so, it's just a beautiful game. And, that's what it's all about. Again, like I said, the game was meant to mold men and ultimately build families. So just to recap, top five Tuesday, and my top 5 football families. Top 5 football families. Coming in at number 1, the Galts. Coming in at number 2, Stefan and Trayvon Diggs. Coming in at number 3, Chris Jenkins. Coming in at number 4, the Harriots, Jerome and Roger. Coming in at number 5, Jim, John, and Jack Harbaugh, coaches, all right? All that being said, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.